Alright, in this video I'll show you how I have created the task manager system with Laravel 12. So you see this in this page the list of tasks is displayed. In case if I want to add any task, I'll be clicking on create task. So here we have three fields. One is title, short description and long description. Let me fill those. I have filled the task. If I click on submit, you will see the task would get added on this table. Now in case if I have completed the task, what you have to do is click on this edit button. What you have to do is you have to click on this view button and you have to read all this, and if it is done then click on completed. So once it's completed, you will see the task has a strike through on the text. Then there's a status case saying that status is completed, and in case if you want to edit it, click on edit, and if you want to make any changes, it can be done. So this is the complete overview of task management system. So without wasting time, let's create the code. Now let me stop the already running Laravel. Now we need to create a Laravel folder. So I have a Laravel project in the folder called Laravel. So let me create a project. So here in this case I'm going to name it as To-Do app. Click on enter. In the meantime, what you can do is you can get into the phpMyAdmin and create a new database. Let's name it as To-Do app. Just type to or -app, click on create. Let us wait till the Laravel folder gets downloaded. It says the Laravel has downloaded. Now let's get into the folder cd. So we have named it as To-Do app, and now php artisan server. It will run your Laravel into this URL. You just have to run it, and now you see a welcome screen. Now what you have to do is, let me just open this in the Visual Studio Code. We have to set the environment variables. So to set environment variables, we have to give information about your database. Let's do that. Now we have the MySQL database, and this is the IP address which you see on the command line. That's what I'm passing here, and this is the port because I am running XAMPP. It says it's in the port 3306, and this is the database which we have created for XAMPP. The username is root and the password is blank. That's what you have to do. Now we need to create model and controller. As of now, you will see there is no controller and there is no model for to-do list. Let's do that. You have to press control backtick and you'll find a terminal opening. Now what you have to do is you just have to type php artisan make model, and the model name is to-do, and I want migration, controller and resources to be created. Click on enter. Once you make those, you will see the to-do controller is there, to-do model is there, and in the database folder you will find a migration also to do. Now over here we have columns. The columns that we need are ID, primary key, the title, the short description, the long description, and a column for whether the task is done or not, and by default it's going to be false, and this is the timestamp. Now we have to type php artisan migrate. Once you type this, your column would get populated on this particular database. Let me show you the database. So this is our database, and over here we have a column called to-dos. If you click on this, so this is table, and in the table you see the defined column. So this defined column is actually created based on this schema. Now what you have to do is let's start with creating a form so that we can fill this database. So yeah, database table. Now also to create page we need to set up route. Since we have already used resources, we can find the created resources over here. So your PHP RTC resource list, route list, colon list. If you click enter, you'll find the list of created route. So as of now it's not showing up because we need to add one more line in the route, so in the web.php, which is nothing but a path to your controller, which is app http. Inside http we have controllers, inside controllers we have to do controllers, and also we have to specify in the controllers you'll find the function is already created. Now we have to properly use it. So whenever there is a call for required route, this class is responsible for it to get executed. Now if I type route list again, you will find the list of routes, and the name, you can see the name on the right side, and this is the URL to it. First of all, what we need, let's create a new PHP file in resources, views, and we'll call it as master.get.php. This is responsible for having your menu. Let's do that. Over here, let me just show you what we actually have. It's just a Bootstrap 4 template where the main focus should be on this particular section. So this is the place where all your dynamic PHP page will get loaded. So here we have used yield, and let's just not focus on this for now. So when there is a call for this URL, or if I press Ctrl backtick again, you will find over here, you should find this URL, to-dos. So when there is a search for to-dos, what we want to show the master view. Let's try this. As of now, our master is empty. No, it's not empty. There is some error. Yeah, you don't have to type to-dos. If there is a call for this, you'll find the master is getting called. In the master, we just have a menu bar, but inside the body, we want some content, that to be the form of form. Let's do that. So when I search for create, so you can see when I search for create, the function that is responsible to execute is over here, it's create. So in the controller, you'll find a create function, and over here what you want is, you want to return view, which is create. As of now, create is not created. On the resources, views, create a new file, is create.grade.php. Now what we need to do is, we want to have whatever we have in this create part. Let's say hello, I am create. So when I search for create, it's actually tools/create. You find I am create. So this text is actually working. Now we want the HTML like this. I want to load this HTML, but I want my create.grade.php to get called on this place. Remember, this is yield a keyword. Again, we need to extend the parent. Here the parent is master, and we need to use section and @end section. So whatever we type here, hello, I am Vishal, and if you refresh, you should see everything goes. No, inside this you need to add one more key. So here the key that we have used is meet. So we have to use this meet over here. You can have any name, so I'm just sticking to meet. So now if you see, the menu is working, and also our HTML is properly getting placed in the place of yield. Now here we just need to create a class, form, Bootstrap form, and now this is the form. We have title, we have short description, we have long description, and we have a submit button. The thing that we have to notice, we need to make sure the name should match with the column name for us to easily understand. So usually you can give any name, but it's recommended to give the name as of your column name of database table. Now if I refresh, you find Bootstrap form. Now when I click on submit, all the data which I have filled, I want it to store over in the table. So to do that, we need to send all the information to this particular function. So here if you see store.route, all the data has to be sent to this function. So in the controller, let me just save this first. In the controller where we have store function, so if I type down.die and make sure this is right, so this is actually name. So what you see here is name, and this is controller name, and this is function. Now whatever type and click on submit, you'll find these data. So this is title, short description, long description. Along with that we have a token. So this token is coming from CSRF, this keyword. So this is for cross-site request forgery. If you don't work, you will get an error saying that page expired. We don't want that. Now what we need to store this value into the database. So to do that, over here we need to use a model. So we have a model, and this is actually the table's column name, title, short description, long description, and this is on the right side after equal to. It's actually the data which will be getting it from the form. So title, description, short description, long description, and we are saving it. Once it gets saved, so before that we need to make sure our model is called properly. That's only when all the data that we have entered would get stored with this function. And after it gets stored, what I need to redirect to the same page, which is todo/create, which you see over here, todo/create, and with a success message saying that data saved successfully. So this is this key, and this is value will get stored into the session variable. Now we just have to use the session and check whether the session has a key which is success. If it has a key, then display the message accordingly. If I try it and let's say workout, and it's just workout and some description about it, click on submit, you should see data saved successfully. Now when I get into the index like this, I want to display the list of tables. So for that, what we need the list of all values from the table. So first we would say that the function that is responsible for showing the index page is the index function. So over here you'll find index. Now we need to get all the values of the model of the table, and here you'll find get. What I'm saying is get all the value from model, which is nothing but this table. This model refers to this table, and order by creator at, so that we get the last added to be on the top and get the value. Once we get it, we need to send it to a view. Where we want to send it to the index.date.php. We haven't created yet, so let's create new file, index.grade.php. Over here we'll create a table, and we need to send what? We need to send this data. So it should be sent as key, and this will return the list of rows. Now there would be multiple rows, that's why, and return index. And also we have to do the same. We need to use the same. Just remove the middle section. You can keep this as it is for now. And here we are extending the master, and this is going to be the title. And if I show you here also, again we have used yield, and this is key, and this is value, all tasks which I am passing, and in between we need the table, and this table will simply get all the values. Since our value is in the to-dos, we would be running for each to get one value at a time. So on the first, it's title, short description, status, and action. So we will be getting the title, we will be getting the description, we will be getting the status. If status is 0, then it is no. If this is by default, we have set it to 0. So if I show you, by default it's 0. If the status is 0, then the task is not completed. If the status is 1, then the task is completed. By default it's 0, so no, you will see no now. So actually the URL here is todos/todos. So we have a single value on the table, single row on the table, that's why it is. Now what we need to do is, let's get into the master and let's uncomment the route names. So this is for all tasks, this is for create, because we have created index page also, we have created create page also. Now in the link, if I click on all task, so this is actually all task. If I click on create task, let's create a task called web learning. So it's no stack, then some information about this task, click on submit. So once it gets submitted, you see data saved successfully. On all tasks, you should see web learn and one task, and the status is no. Now we need to have a button called edit. So if I click on edit, I need the form. So this form with the pre-filled data. So over here you need to pass a link. So let's get into index. So we don't get this. So over here you see we are passing a anchor tag with text edit, and over here we are passing the ID, because this edit function which you see over here accepts the URL, the ID, and the edit text. Now the function that is responsible is edit. We need to get into edit, and since we already have this to do, it will automatically check whether the value is, let me show you again. So if I click on this edit button, actually it's not saved yet. If I save this, you will find this edit button. So what we need, I want to open a new page, and that page should be we'll call it as edit.data.php, and over here the same code which is there on create should be there, but the value has to be pre-filled. Now, since each row is identified with a primary key, so if we get a primary key, we will get the corresponding information. So for that reason, I am sending the URL with ID, and this URL with ID we will access it over here, and we need to return a view with the view. Also we need to pass ID, the received ID, through the URL. So if I click on edit, the URL will get 2, and that 2 we will access it and send it to which function? Edit function. So actually we are in the wrong function. Actually this is the edit function. The create function has loaded now, but since we have access to the ID, we can directly call it by this way. Since it's a single value, we don't have to use for each, title, description, long description, and what we need is, once I click on save, once you see the value is auto filled, because the corresponding row gets called and it gets displayed over here. Now if I click on update, what should happen? All the data should get sent via URL, and we need the corresponding function on the controller. So the corresponding function is update. So what we need to do is, the URL will accept the object of to do. So that's why I'm passing. This is the name of the route, and it would accept the to do object which I'm passing it. And now we need to get the object on the controller. So in the update function, we will be writing the same code like how we have written on the create. So you can see, so store the same code, I will be writing it on the update. Since we have passed the ID, Laravel is smart enough to understand there's a concept called data binding. So it will fetch the ID. In this case the ID is 1, it will fetch the ID 1 and update the column and give the message saying that data updated successfully. Now if I make this workout 2, if I refresh this first, instead of chest workout, let's make this shoulder workout. Click on update. You see chest got changed into shoulder. Now let's edit this, and instead of one, let's call it as lamp, or let's just say Laravel. Click on update. The data got updated because the data binding works. We have not given the ID to the Laravel, but still Laravel knows which column to get updated based on the pass ID over the URL. So you see this is the idea I was talking about. And in the form, since this is the form, we see the action, and that action has the ID here too. And also in the form, in this case it's edit, we have to use the method foot, or else it won't work. So because you see on the left, the foot is for the update itself. Now what is the next thing that we have to do? We need to have a new URL apart from this route. What you see here, apart from this route, we need to have a new function. So how are we going to do that? So in the web.php, which is in routes web.php, I want to create a new function which is get, and this should be array. It's not working. We need to create two new functions. Let's just do that. Web.php, one for just viewing and the one is for updating. So let's focus on view now. So over here it would accept the object. So we need to create an anchor tag on the index, and that in the URL it would accept an ID that we are passing. So you can see on the console to do one view-to-do/one. So it will match the URL view-to-do.1, and also this one has to be handled by a function on the controller, and that function is view-to-do. So let's create a new function. And that would accept the ID or the object. So here in this case it's ID. Now what we need to create a new view. So let's create a new view. It says views. We will simply call it as todo.blade.php, and this is going to be the description page. So what do I mean by that? So if I click on view, all the information like title, short description, whether the status is completed or not completed, the long description should get displayed on this particular table. As we are already passing the ID on the controller, we need to return a view like how we did here. Return a view, and the view is going to be todo, and as we are already sending the ID, which we can access it over here, and we can send the ID to the view, which is this todo, and on the todo we can access the individual row. We get the title, we get the description, we get the long description, and for now let's skip this form part. So if you refresh and click on it, you will get the complete information. Same way, let's get into the workout. If I click on view, you get complete information. Now we need another URL, and that URL will be responsible for updating the column. From if it's 0 it should be 1, if it's 1 it should be 0. So for that we need a new route. Let's get into web.php, and if you see, the new route is, the URL should be status-update, and it's going to be todo. So this will be there on the forms action, and the function that is responsible is status. So we need to create a function, and before that let's create the form. So the form, whenever you are going to update a column on a table, we need to do it with the help of form. So that form we have created it on the todo. So you see, since we are updating, we need to use the method put, and this is the route that we have created. If you want to see it again, you can just check here. And now you see this function, this is the route, this is name of the route, and that matches your web.php. So this is the name of the route, and the relevant function that would get called is status update on the controller. Let's create a new function, before getting into that, we need to understand the logic. So in the form, we have two options. Either it's going to be 0 or either it's going to be 1. If it is 0, that means the task is not completed. So the task is not completed, we have to add the button called completed. So that's what I have done here. If the task is completed, then we have to make it not completed. And now in the URL, since this is 0, that means you have to make it complete. 0 means not completed, and I want to make it complete. That's what it is there. So if I click on this button, what should happen? I want to make this, if it is 0, it should be 1. If it is 1, it should be 0. That's what it is. So that's what in the controller I have done. If get the current row, the current row is going to be identified with the help of ID. Just notice the form action. So the form action has the ID 1. So Laravel will do the data binding and will get the ID with row, ID with value 1. So that value will check the first, this is the ID 1. It will check whether the value is 0 or 1. If the value is 0, it will make it 1. If the value is 1, it will make it 0. I hope that is clear. It will simply fetch the row and it will check whether it's 0, it will make it 1. If it is 1, it will make it 0. And then it will get saved, and a session variable will hold the message status updated, and it will take you to the main table. So if I refresh this, it's completed, right? If I click on completed, it will take you to the index page and it will set as completed. And if I make it not completed, it will make it as not completed. So this is how we can make it. And coming back to this, it's actually very straightforward. In the index, again it will check if the value is 0 or 1. If the value is 1, then add the class yes. If the value is 0, then do nothing. So this class yes, I have added in the master.web.php. I have added a small CSS that will say text decoration line 3. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening. Meet you next time with another Laravel mini project.